I was actually thinking about this last night. How do you define art? Because there's so many different forms of art and types of expressions and mediums you can use to express yourself. Like, how do you sort of define art?
Um, as I would define it as the attempt to define the undefinable, express the unexpressible, or the define the undefined and express the unexpressed so far. I mean, my serious, deep answer to that is to bring new life. And you can't do that under the idea that everything has to come from something. You'd have to start with the idea that of ex nihilo, that
Yeah.
something can only or that something has to come from a divine creator and outside creation. I believe it is the divine reaching the becoming flesh in the material.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Like, I haven't thought through it a lot, so my knee jerk as a Christian would be to run in that direction. And I appreciate you saying that and sharing that in a way that you feel confident about what you believe in that. Because I just I haven't really given it that much thought. I kind of am a participant in art in some ways, and my wife is as well. And I know you and I have done plenty of music together, like written lots of music together, and expressed ourselves that way. And I just have never really given a thought as to like what it is this thing is that we're doing.
Yeah.
But it really, I think you're hitting on it because it really is like that. You're creating something out of nothing, or how some people talk of it talk about art as in like I'm writing a song or I'm painting a picture or whatever it is, painting a painting, and it's like it does come from somewhere else. So you believe that that's an absolute fact. It's not just feeling that way, that this art is given to you, or is it something that you just express yourself as a person? The locus of the creation comes from the individual.
I believe that. I believe that art, that's where art comes from, is the divine and the transcendent. But my thing is, I think everybody believes that, even if they don't believe it, they at least act on it, and that's, or at least to the point where they did. I'd say you'd have to, if you're going to make art, if you're going to make it, you have to believe this is more than the mundane and more than what I see every day. Otherwise, what's the point? If I wasn't just, I mean, why wouldn't you just? And that's the problem I think with postmodern art is like, why wouldn't I just throw a McDonald's hamburger at a wall and call it art?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you need to. I don't think you can be a genuine person or a genuine artist in the slightest if you don't at least act as if what you're doing hasn't been done before, or you're at least striving to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, agreed.
Yep. So I think about it a lot, and I think mostly what concerns me is the weaponization of art for politics, which is propaganda. That's why those are two different words. Like that's
Mm.
what
Yeah.
and the degradation of the soul, the attacking of or the belittling of humankind,
Mm.
and so much of what kind of set me off on this was Ryan Johnson's Glass Onion, that movie that just came out. And I hate to keep throwing him under the bus,
Well, I'm no
which
fan.
I love to actually. I'm gonna say I love to throw him under the bus.
I say you're in good company here. I'm
Yeah,
I'm no fan.
the man. It seems just what it seems. I don't think he has ill intent or maliciousness or cruelty when he's making something, but I feel like maybe it's laziness or a hubris of thinking that he's more clever than he is. And he's not the only one. That's just what set me off. But I think that's the thing is I think people are treating art as if it's this thing that I do, I make, I control. I'll do what I want, and what I want to do is something cruel. Um,
Mm.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or something that promotes myself, something that makes me better and me bigger and uplifts me and no one else.
So, that's a deep one. That's probably another rabbit trail for another day. But,
Yeah.
just what is the motivation behind creating art in the first place? Is it simple enjoyment? Is it for the good of others, or what is it? Is it is it selfish? Is it what? And I think that can mean different things for different people. But yeah, I'm with you. I think if you take art and start militarizing it and making it into be turning it into a weapon in some way, oh, you just lost the beauty of it. It's all gone.
Well, there's like to me, art is the same as having a child. You're creating in the idea that you're creating something new.
Hmm.
And I mean that's the whole point. If you're not creating something new, you're not really doing anything with that, you know. So if you, because people have asked that before, why do people procreate and breed? Is it selfish? Is it self promotion? It's like, if we want to get deep into theology, something in Christian circles that bothered me for a long time is this idea that heaven is stagnant, or like let's say the afterlife, maybe not, the new heaven, new earth. I think afterlife helps people who aren't Christians kind of understand it. And the term heaven isn't the proper term, as we know. If you are a Christian, it's the new heaven, new earth, new creation, basically. It doesn't seem as if it's stagnant. It seems as if God is always creating at all times forever. Like the opposite of hell isn't stagnation in heaven, it's complete and utter unrestrained creation. So,
Man, that's deep.
yeah, but I mean, that's what's been lost. And I don't, like I said, I don't know enough to know if the church fathers believe that, but they did believe, the Catholic Church, and I shouldn't say that, every religion, every major religion has believed that you need to express beauty and love and these transcendental qualities, these objective qualities, through art. And that has just been gone for so long, and I don't. And the Puritans and the church gets blamed a lot for that, but at least in Hollywood, which why would you take Hollywood seriously for anything, right? But except for how to swindle people, but
How to make bad art, what not to do.
yeah, exactly. But it's religion, or at least belief in the transcendental, that has always spurred the greatest advances in art.
Now that I can agree with,
Yeah.
and I can get on board with that because, a friend of mine was recently sharing this with me. He said that, a lot of I think it was the Renaissance paintings or sculptures, and you would basically see, um, say it's the Michelangelo's Statue of David. I could be getting that, way
Yeah,
off.
Michelangelo's David, yeah.
Yeah, so like he's peering up into heaven, and he almost has like, uh, you know, a very pleased face, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole idea behind it was that that's what it meant to connect with God. That's what it meant to like really. They were trying to express what it looked like to really connect with the divine, and to actually put that on, on someone's face. I'm trying to say this in a way that's not, crude or crass or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's, almost
Well,
orgasmic in a
yeah,
way.
no, divine ecstasy.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, some of the most amazing artists on the planet have done so to glorify God, the God that they were creating it for. And so, you and I both know of some really great examples of people who don't believe in God that have done fantastic art. But I'm with you. I think some of the best art really does come from people who are getting outside of themselves and making it for something, for the divine, or for someone other than just themselves, to please themselves.
Yeah, it's very hard to. Well, the thing is, like even Soviet art, like the mass, the seriousness of it, and the realist part, even that was done in the name of something else, something greater than the art. It was to personify an idea. It was to personify the glory of the new Soviet man.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and the Nazis, I
Yep.
mean, they're known for destroying art and all that kind of stuff, of course, especially Jewish art and church art. But their entire, I mean, they spent so much time investing in like their uniform idea and like their flags and stuff. Like, and like, again, it was propaganda, but it had a high quality to it because they believed it was serving some greater goal. And of course, that goal was horrific and terrible. but
Mm.
it at least was dedicated to something else. But the idea of art for but see that but that's where it also gets destructive and evil, as we just said. Like that's where even when you dedicate to something bigger than you, it can be propaganda because it's political and it destroys people. The whole point is to oppress and hurt people, you know.
And maybe I'm like overly emotional about it, but even hearing you say that makes me so sad because I believe that art is designed to be something that's just absolutely magnificent and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And to use it for something that's just, not really of any eternal value, sounds like a complete waste. And it sounds like, um, I can't think of a way to. You said degradation of the soul earlier. I love that you said that. But in a way too, it's just kind of like um, how do you describe it? It's like a shadow form.
Yeah,
It's
a
like,
demonization.
yeah, it's like there's some resemblance to what the thing should be, but because of the result of, sin, or because of the result of, brokenness, it isn't quite the way that it should be.
Well,
And that makes me sad.
well, taking and running with that almost in like a kind of a petty sense because we're both nerds, but that's why people have called like the new Star Wars and stuff like that, like those kind of reboots. They called them skin suits because you've gotten this thing where you've crawled into something that people like and you eat out the inside of it and you pretend to be it.
Yeah.
And that's what that does lead to. That's what this idea of if you don't create something new and you don't try, you'll but you still want integrity. And again, let's connect that to Christianity. I mean, that's what Satan and the Antichrist is. It's this idea of I want to be worshipped, but I don't want to be crucified.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the thing is like I want glory, I want presence, I want honor, but I don't want to have to sacrifice for it. I don't want to have to create. And again, we've discussed this is another thing for this is another another long discussion for another day, but I believe the original creation even involved death in some sense, and that's part of like what made Christ the Lamb worthy. I don't want to get too deep into theology, but I think I think creation slash art has to involve a death or something of that effect. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It
mean that.
requires sacrifice.
Sure, sure. And it's something that you see in real life. It's part of the human experience, and to not include death would almost kind of be, you know, ignoring the fact that we're all going to die one day. you know, you wouldn't want to ignore that, because I think death, in Tolkien's view, we're probably going to get into Tolkien at some point,
Yeah, we should.
but in Tol- in J.R.R. Tolkien's view, death is a beautiful thing, and the elves are, you know, putting off death in some way. But the men, the second children of Iluvatar, the men in the story get a chance to die, and because they get a chance to die, it means that they don't have to deal with the sufferings and pain of this life forever and ever. So, death is actually a gift from God. And so, honestly, to ignore death in some way would be to create art that has no real emotional weight or value.
Yeah, I think that idea of wanting to be glorified without paying the price is a horrific one and one of the worst things someone could do.
Oh yeah, why should you be glorified? It's like, well, you've done nothing to earn that.
Yeah, and that goes to like the architect and the idea of the unworthy king.
Mm,
Because and the idea of like if the king is unworthy, then the entire nation suffers.
mm.
Um, and that's a whole other thing, but we could go down. But I think we have a whole generation of that. And I'm not trying to sound like preachy or whatever, but I mean I think we have an entire generation of unworthy kings, of people who want to be rewarded, want to be praised, and haven't earned it, and can't understand. And so what they try to do is they try to assume the mantle of those who have.
Wow.